Thank you for joining us. The Brattleboro Retreat has been in the vanguard of many new programs over recent years, and they are looking to raise money for one of them, the LGBT treatment program. And to tell us all about it is to my immediate left, Eileen Glover, and to her immediate left, Konstantin von Krusenstiern. Now, do I get extra Scrabble points for getting that correct?
That was very impressive. Perfect.
Well, thank you both for coming. I want to talk about this event first because you've managed to get probably one of the foremost vocal groups from the Northeast here for an evening. Who are they and what are you planning?
Well, it was a long time coming. We've been actually working on this for a couple of years. It's the Boston Gay Men's Chorus. It's a very rare appearance for them to come to this part of New England. They haven't been to Vermont in a long time. And they are coming on November 1st. They're going to be performing at the beautiful Art Deco Latchis Theatre. The performance starts at 7:30, and they have really a program of a variety of music from different genres: pop music, classical music, traditional music. And we're going to mix in some surprises too. So we're all really excited about it. There's a great buzz about it in the community.
And the operative question for people who would like to go without even hearing anything more, how do you get tickets?
Well, the easiest way is to go online, and where you go is www.brattlebororetreat.org/chorus. And there's also an 800 number, and that is 1-800-838-3006. And there's a variety of tickets. There's everything from, we have these special premium tickets, which are $125, but for that you also get to go to a pre-reception before the event at the New Duo restaurant, which is in downtown Brattleboro. Just opened, I think, about a week ago, and we're excited about that. But then we have regular front orchestra tickets for $50, rear orchestra tickets for $30, and then balcony seats for $20. And tickets are going quite fast, so we anticipate that it will sell out. And I should mention that the Duo restaurant is in the new Brooks House, which folks from all over the state have certainly heard about because of the redevelopment of the Brooks House with the colleges and new retail, new residential, and it's an exciting project that the governor and others in the state have been very supportive of, and is really key to revitalizing downtown Brattleboro.
So what are you hoping this event will do in Brattleboro? You're looking to raise money, and for what?
Well, first and foremost, we're hoping for people to have fun, and that's for sure. It's going to be a really fun evening, and I think just as a community event, getting 750 people together in that theater is an exciting thing. That's one of my favorite things about living in Brattleboro, is being in a sold-out house at the Latchis Theatre. It's not sold out yet, but we anticipate that it will. But ultimately, what we're doing is raising money for the LGBT program, and I'll let Eileen speak to this a little bit, but there's a number of initiatives that we are trying to raise money for that program. And so we're excited about that too. And it's really through community involvement and community support that we can make that happen.
Well, Eileen, how long has this program been in existence at the Brattleboro Retreat? And why was the idea first put together?
Well, the program opened in 2011, and the origin of it is a little bit of a mystery. Every time I ask somebody, they have a different idea. And I think that just speaks to, there's a lot of reasons why this was a good idea. And so the idea grew from recognizing the need to serve this underserved population. And there are very few, if any, other programs like this in the country.
So you're directly dealing with people who are of the LGBT community, but having other issues as well?
Right, so we're still, first and foremost, the Brattleboro Retreat, and we are an acute psychiatric hospital, so folks are coming when they're in crisis. What we've done is created a specialized environment specifically for people who identify, because for folks who identify as LGBT, there are additional barriers to treatment, face additional stigmas beyond the stigma of mental health and addiction illnesses. So by creating this safe space, folks have a place to come to work on the issues that they need to work on in a place that embraces and supports and affirms every aspect of themselves.
What might some of these issues be? I mean, still in many parts of the country, there are people who are having significant family or economic or community issues in letting themselves be known of who they are. And I trust that would lead to some kinds of either substance abuse or other disorders.
Absolutely. So all of the life's issues that we're all dealing with are compounded when your family of origin perhaps are not supportive, if not downright abusive. Many people report being abused sexually, physically, kicked out of their homes, not having any sort of connection to community. So compound that with perhaps a pre-existing mental illness, proclivity for an addiction illness, and folks are really, really struggling to meet their basic health needs. To go into a primary care physician or provider who isn't exposed or understands or educated on the special needs of identifying as LGBT can compound it as well. So if folks don't feel supported by their primary care provider, will they go for routine screening and attention to their regular physical health? We also know in this country there's lots of, like you were saying, places where, I mean, we're very fortunate in the Northeast that this is a very open community, very accepting. It's not that way in a lot of places. And so folks are not able to talk about who they are and who they love and what they think and feel in a way that's safe.
And I think sometimes that's really compounded in rural communities as well, because you don't have that natural community or the size of the scope of the community, so it's harder to find your own community or your peers.
That's a great point. We hear that often from patients. We have people coming from all over the state, and for some, they say the only time they're ever with anybody else who identifies is when they come to the hospital, which is heartbreaking, that they feel so secluded and isolated in these rural communities without the ability to connect with others who could be supportive or understanding and just provide that sort of kinship.
Well, gosh, we all need to know, no matter who we are, that we're not alone, that somebody shares our trials and tribulations. And it must be even worse when you've got a very, very small community. You're almost afraid to say anything.
Absolutely. It could be your very personal physical safety to be open about who you are. And when you're in a rural area, the ability to access. So up north in Burlington or Rutland, here in Brattleboro, there are resources. But for some folks, getting to those places or connecting with other people is extremely, extremely challenging.
So once someone comes in the door, what makes this program different from any other?
There's something that happens when you arrive on our unit. The Brattleboro Retreat is a special place anyway. To have that many people focused on doing the work that we do, there's that positive energy anyway. But when you come onto the unit, you can really immediately sense that this is a place that is safe, that everybody there is welcoming for anybody who walks through the door. So it's not just people who identify. We have lots of different folks who come through for support and for help admitted to our program. But when you walk in and you're greeted by a staff person who says, "It's nice to meet you. What is your name?" Just something as simple as that. Or, "What pronoun would you like me to use?" Without assuming that by using the usual conformity, standard society things, people look at you and they immediately decide who you are. And we don't do that. You tell me who you are, and I will address you as such. And for some people, they've never experienced that in their lives.
So even walking through the door, they notice a difference. What kind of a difference is there within the treatment itself?
Because it is person-centered in that way, for me to be able to get to know the person and find out who they are, what their individual struggles or challenges have been, and what are the things that work for them that we can help them with to make this process of recovery and health as easy as possible. And a big part of that is addressing the whole person. You are some of your experiences. So what's happened to you before when you've tried to reach out and get help from a care provider? And what can we do to make sure this experience is nothing like that?
So how long is the program itself, and what happens when people go home? Do they go right back to an undesirable situation, or how do things change?
Well, that's a great question, because that's one of the challenges, right? Is, people come for short stay. They're there for 6 to 10 days. And during that time, we need to help them get the support in place for when they leave, whatever that is, whether it's new providers, meetings, step-down programs, residential programs. But then we also go that extra step to try to find them services that will be as open and affirming. There aren't that many, and that's a real challenge. So what we also have to help people figure out is how to find that sense of self and community within yourself. So I may not be able to find a 12-step program that is LGBT friendly, but how can I work in that environment and heal in that environment with maybe some more skills of self-care than they would have had when they came in.
And I think a number of the folks that come through the program then also end up accessing other programs at the retreat. We have, as you mentioned, step-down programs, what's called partial hospitalization or intensive outpatient or an outpatient therapist. We have AA meetings. I mean, over 5,000 people come to the retreat every year for services, and there's a whole array of services provided at the retreat, and that includes all the outpatient. Inpatient alone is over 3,000 admissions a year. I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize the scope and the size of what the retreat is and the services we provide, and there's over 800 employees at the retreat as well providing those services.
And part of what we've been doing is creating that network. So reaching out to providers in all of the surrounding states to find access to programs for folks. So we often are in contact with therapists and programs all around the Northeast to help people identify where is a safe place for them to be.
Are there success stories that you could relate without giving anyone's identity away if they chose not to have it given away?
Oh, absolutely. The success stories are amazing. And after all of these years, I've been with the program since the day it opened. And it can still bring goosebumps. You know, folks who say the only time I've been around anybody else who was gay was when I came here. And their gratitude to be in that safe space. There was somebody who came in who was an older person. And we did what we always do, and we asked do you have a pronoun that you prefer? And the person burst into tears and said, I'm 60 whatever years old, and nobody's ever asked me that. And this person was somebody who identified as transgender, and for the first time was able to say out loud to another human being, this is who I am, and this is some of the reasons that I've been struggling for so long. There's nothing that tops that sort of experience for everybody, and it helps keep us all focused on our mission. Those success stories. People send us cards and letters, and we got flowers at Thanksgiving, and people have an affinity and a connection because this was the first place that they really felt that sort of a connection.
I remember a story you once told about a patient who essentially didn't speak, was very quiet, and then with the evolution of that patient.
It was an absolutely amazing experience when we first opened up. So that part of the reason that the Gay Chorus is so phenomenal of a connection is that music is a big part of what we do. And we have very talented local musicians on our staff who are brilliant at sharing those skills and talents with our patients and with each other. And so we incorporate music into treatment often. And there was somebody who had a very significant trauma history, and she was not speaking. And she'd been on the unit for days and would not engage in treatment, wouldn't speak with anybody. We tried everything we could, and we couldn't get through to her. And on a routine Saturday afternoon group, we brought out all of our musical instruments and talked about using music as a coping strategy and a means of self-soothing and support. And then we did something we used to call LGBT Idol, and just people would be able to read a poem or share or sing or share some sort of a talent. And one of our mental health workers was playing her violin, and this patient just began to sing in this amazing, deep, bluesy, heartfelt, poignant voice, and the entire unit stopped. And we all just came and listened. I was in the room participating in the group, and it was magic. And she certainly wasn't forever healed in that moment, but she was able to communicate with us in a way she wasn't able to before, and it broke down that wall barrier that she had keeping her from engaging with us. It created that safe space for her to know that this is a place that is safe for me. And so she gradually started opening up, and by the time she left was very much engaged in treatment. It was a pretty magical moment.
That really is what it's all about, isn't it? I mean, the retreat earlier this year started a campaign called Stand Up to Stigma, and this is one of the bigger stigmas in society right now.
Correct, and for folks in our unit, they have the triple stigma. Right? They may have mental health and addiction illness stigma, and then on top of that compounded by the stigma associated with identifying.
So beyond treatment, what other resources do you have available in terms of books or written materials or peer support, that sort of thing?
So peer support is the biggest thing, and I appreciate you bringing it up because, again, folks are being able to be a part of community and reaching out and understanding there are other people who have been through what I've been through and understand me and my journey in a way that they've not experienced before. We keep the unit stacked. There's a lot of us book nerds on the unit, and so every library book sale I can go to, I'm stocking up on material for the unit. We have LGBT-specific material, whether it's education or fiction or nonfiction writing, movies and music, and structured groups using some of those materials. So we try to create an environment that says LGBT people have an awful lot to contribute. When choosing the artwork for the unit, I was specific about that and said I want to make sure that we're choosing pieces that reflect the community. So we did a really exhaustive search on who are the artists and painters and authors who are from the community that can be represented on our walls. And I think we did a really great job of finding a good variety of artwork prints that represented the community.
And one of the things we're trying to do with this event, also with some of the resources raised at this event, is for that library, because right now it's primarily a library for during your stay, but if we have the resources so that people can take home books and take home materials and take home, that would be great. And so this event will help fund that resource library.
I mean, it certainly would. After all, you want to make sure that care is not just something that happens within your walls.
Correct. Right. People are building the skills to take with them to help them heal in their community and their home environment. So having something to bring with them that can evoke some of the experiences they had while on the unit, that's sort of a transitional object. And again, people have limited resources. So to be able to provide them something to bring with them is a wonderful thing.
And that's actually another goal of the event, is for to raise funds for community outreach, to not just be on the unit or not just be on the campus, but go out into the community and talk about these issues. I know that Eileen is traveling just this week to a conference and sharing best practices, showing people, giving presentations of what we do, whether it's out in, I think you said Cincinnati or Indianapolis, wherever you're going, but sometimes it might be to the local high school or something like that, just to not only share about what the program is, but to have people can have a takeaway.
One of our sort of founding mission was to be seen as a resource for the community. So I have gone and traveled to local high schools, nursing schools, so we can start to educate our emerging medical professionals on best practices for taking care of this population and what their special needs might be. And part of that is part of the education for the aftercare. So if there isn't an appropriate resource in the community, how can we help create that? We've had elderly patients who needed long-term care, and folks were very resistant to that. We can't do single rooms, we can't take care of this person. So we went to them and provided that education that they needed to be able to support this person in their facility with great success. We've done that several times.
No matter who you are, you need role models because it makes the way so much easier.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, and that's part of what the peer support process is as well. We're an adult unit, but we'll have younger adults, older adults, and people are able to share those experiences and journeys and reinforce the fact that it can be better.
So how does the Boston Gay Men's Chorus fit into this overall mission?
Well, it's interesting because they're not just a chorus. They also have a mission beyond being a chorus. So they go into schools as well, and they usually do education. So it's really really a wonderful marriage between the Brattleboro Retreat and Boston Gay Men's Chorus. And while they're here, just by them being here, will raise awareness of the issues that we're talking about here. And in a fun way too. It's going to be a party, but with a foundation, a strong mission foundation.
Now, I understand this is a pretty strong group. I mean, you're not just seeing a couple of guys with voices on stage.
Yeah, it's a big group, and they also, like I said, do a variety of different types of music, and I suspect that the party is going to continue before and after the event as well, and up the street when members of the group are going to join us at Duo Restaurant, and afterwards, some of the members of the group are staying at the Latchis Hotel, which is right in the same building, and I'm sure it'll be fun on that bus ride home back to Boston too, or 2 buses we have back to Boston. And in fact, the group is sort of because it's such a large group, they couldn't have a dressing room or a green room big enough. So the Boys and Girls Club across the street has been very gracious to allow this big group to come in, and they're going to have dinner there and be able to change into their tuxedos that you see behind Eileen there. And so a lot of people were involved to making this happen. We're also going to show a little film clip, a little to explore and for folks to learn more about the program at the retreat as well.
So really, it sounds like a lot has come together to make this happen, and all that really is missing is people who would like to sit and have a wonderful, enjoyable evening. I mean, it's not going to be preachy. You're going to hear some great music.
Yeah, it's going to be fun and entertaining, and I'm sure there'll be some tears too through some of the emotional performances. We'll hear some remarks to every year the Brattleboro Retreat honors somebody with the Anna Marsh Award. So this year it'll be Representative Bill Lippert, and he's been a leader across the state, both in the LGBT community and also in issues regarding mental health and addiction. And I'm sure that he'll have some very powerful remarks as well, and that'll be at the end of intermission. So there'll be something for everybody on this evening, and we're really looking forward to it.
Sounds like it will be. Now, again, to get tickets, how do you do that?
Tickets can be gotten on the web with a credit card. You go to the Brattleboro Retreat website, brattlebororetreat.org. On our homepage, there's a link, or you can go to brattlebororetreat.org/chorus, or also by calling the 800 number, and you can order tickets that way. And again, that 800 number is 1-800-838-3006. And I just want to also just say for a moment, as you alluded to, so much goes into making an event like this happen. There's so many volunteers. There's all the community partners on the evening of the event. Our sponsors, we have a lot of sponsors. The Richards Group has been just so generous in helping the retreat in so many ways, and they're the gold sponsor for this event. And we just appreciate their support, because you can't do an event like this, as you know, without those sponsors.
And of course, the need for money doesn't stop here. How can someone make a contribution to the LGBT program?
That can also be done through the website, brattlebororetreat.org. There's a little button right on top that says donate, or folks can donate over the phone, which is 802-258-4318, and somebody can take your credit card. Or people can just mail in a check to the Brattleboro Retreat at P.O. Box 803, Brattleboro, Vermont 05302. So we really appreciate that support, and that's what makes it all happen.
And how can someone access the LGBT program?
By calling our main admissions line. An admissions coordinator will work with individuals to talk about insurance, to talk about admission criteria to the hospital, and if admission isn't the appropriate thing, we'll help you find what is. But coming right through our admissions department is exactly the way to do that.
And the admissions phone number is another 800 number, 1-800-RETREAT. So it's easy to remember, 1-800-RETREAT, or you could just call your primary care physician and they can help you with that process as well.
Really, the way has been easier to access mental health and addiction services over the years, has it not?
Well, that's certainly been the goal at the retreat, particularly in the last 5 years, is to make that admissions process easier, less intimidating, more customer friendly. And I think we've gotten a long way towards making it much more customer friendly.
And I'm so excited about this when you were talking about sort of how all of these things came together. We've been talking for years about what sort of event can we do to raise awareness of the program beyond our walls. And so, we talked about going out into the community. I've presented, and with some of my colleagues, we've presented at other psychiatric hospitals, at conferences that are specific to LGBT health. But this sort of convergence of the chorus and Mr. Lippert and our program, all of it just seemed to fall into place and marry together really, really well. And my hope is that by having these folks stepping forward with us to bring this to the attention of other people, that more people will know that we exist. I mean, the retreat is very well known in this state, and they're very well known across the country, but the footprint of our program can expand. The more people who know that we're there, the more people we can reach out and help, and so I'm really hopeful.
It's really been interesting watching the ticket sales. I actually get a little email alert every time a ticket gets ordered, and I know who's bought where they're from, where the people have bought the tickets. And just today, tickets were bought by people living in New York. We get Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and it just sort of, again, speaks to the power of this and how word of mouth and through doing shows like this, how getting the word out, how people from all over the place are interested in coming to Vermont to see this show.
A really powerful evening for an excellent cause. Thank you both for allowing us to tell your story.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim, for having us.
You're very welcome. Eileen Glover, Konstantin von Krusenstiern from the Brattleboro Retreat. This is a can't miss event for the Brattleboro area. Again, it is November 1st, 7:30 p.m. at the Latchis. Get your tickets in advance, and they'll tell you how to do that. Again, thank you so much.